we have someone that I respect. A lot of us we love her, and she's been doing great work to support MSMEs in Nigeria, in the person of Mrs. Ndidi. Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli will be moderating the panel session, and we have some panelist members here who will be discussing some of the challenges we face. They will come up with strategies in the areas of IT, finance, and other areas that affect small businesses generally. We have Dr. Timothy Olawale from NECA. We have the president, NASSI, Chief Solomon Daniel, who will also be joining the panel discussion. Not left behind is UNIDO. We have Mr. Bamidele, who is also going to be telling us some of the things UNIDO is doing, some of the interventions, so they're going to look at it from the global perspective. And of course, we will not leave our SMEDAN behind. We have our very own director of enterprise, who has also played a lot of role and a very key role in making this event happen. Okay, I really want to applaud everybody that is here and all the people that have made this possible. So in the person of Mr. Monday Ewans from SMEDAN, he will also be joining this segment. Ndidi, are you ready for us, Mrs. Nwuneli?
Yes, thank you so much.
Happy to have you here and to see you again. Yes,
I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So she's going to take this segment, and we are going to have all the other panelists also being able to speak. Okay, so Ndidi, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Funke.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to connect with you all. I'm standing on all existing protocols, but would like to specially recognize the chairman of SMEDAN, Otumba Femi Pedro, who has been a long time supporter of SMEs from the days at Faith Foundation over 20 years ago. Delighted to connect with you, sir, as well as the DG of SMEDAN. The panel discussion is focused on supporting MSMEs through COVID-19 crisis, funding, IT, and access to markets. I think we've already heard a lot about the challenges that the SMEs face. And what I'd like to focus this panel on is on solutions. I'm an SME myself, just like Madam Funke, co-founder of Ace Foods, which is in Sangota, co-founder of Sahel Consulting, chair of Nourishing Africa, and also founder of Leap Africa. So all the organizations I'm involved in work across Nigeria and even Africa and are facing serious challenges, but we should focus on opportunities. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And this is an opportunity for SMEs to rebuild, retool, reimagine, and emerge stronger. So I would like to start off with the DG of NECA, Dr. Timothy. You are seeing it from a full vantage point. What are some opportunities that we can take advantage of at this time? And what are some specific recommendations you have for the SMEs, as well as the policymakers and agencies listening in around what we can do to create an enabling environment for these SMEs to really embrace these opportunities? So, sir, please, Dr. Timothy, please respond.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on established protocols. My name is Thompson Akpabio. I work for NECA. I'm standing in for my DG, Dr. Timothy Olawale, and he is engaged in something that came up very urgently this morning. However, he sends his regards, and he has asked that I should stand in for him, even in this panel discussions. We've heard the question, opportunities. And when we're talking about opportunities, it would be nice to know what were some of the challenges so that we can marry the opportunities to some of the challenges. And we now know that, okay, we have solved one problem and be able to move on. The challenges are not the same. They're cross-cutting in some instances, but it varies from one industry or one type of business to the other. Interestingly, the COVID-19 period came in also when we had the oil price crisis in Nigeria. At that particular time, the price of crude oil was something else in the international market. And when we're looking at opportunities, businesses were crumbling, businesses had issues and all of those things. But I don't want to dwell on the challenges, because my focus on this question is on the opportunities. Number one opportunity, we have to redefine our business model. Businesses should not be as usual. Today we are having this meeting based on Zoom. Zoom is not a Nigerian technology. So how have you been operating your businesses in the past years? What are the business models which you need to reinvent yourself so that you can be afloat? I think it was Alibaba that actually said something. It says, year 2020 is not the year to make profit and to see how you can have a huge profit, but just staying alive and surviving through the year is enough. And that will be a key thing to do. Number two, we should look at things like our supply chain. It's true that the SME is key to almost all businesses. In his presentation, the president of NASSI was talking about 90% of employment and all of those things. That's statistics which he also gave. So where have we gone wrong in terms of those challenges, in terms of those key sectors, so that will aid us to move forward? Number three, we need to look at how do we stay afloat, looking at our cash flow, looking at ourselves, looking at other businesses which we can do, not just focusing on one line of business. Because for instance, the SMEs that were focusing on business to the hospitality sector would definitely not be smiling to the bank at this particular period, because the sector is still under lockdown. Meanwhile, others that have diversified will have a whole lot of things to smile back. So we need to diversify our work system. We need to also look at how we can go automation. Automation happens to be the key for the future. How do we reinvent and look at those things to import them into our businesses so that we can reach out to our clients, our customers, as much as we can, even from our homes, our offices, based on technology, which is available to us. Yes, there'll be need for us to look at training and retraining ourselves, because a whole lot of us were not used to Zoom meetings or WebEx or even Microsoft Teams meetings. But now, due to this, we need to reinvent ourselves. How do we measure up to the international one? How do we stay afloat? How do we do businesses? How do we get used to automation? And a whole lot of things. Then we have to look at our workforce. Yes, as another area that we need to look at. And when we're looking at our workforce, what are the key jobs that we should be doing? Who are the key people or the key areas that should be there? Because that has been an ongoing issue, an ongoing discussion in terms of, oh, we can't keep everybody. But if we can't keep everybody doing the same thing, we can actually move some of them to doing a different thing, so that, oh, these people are still relevant in the system. These people are still contributing towards your existence and the bottom line at the end of the day. So the issue of workforce also have to be taken on board, which is very key. I would like to just pause there at the moment, because these are my preliminary comments, to allow other participants and panelists have their own views.
Thank you so much. Thank you for raising the issue of automation, becoming more IT savvy, embracing technology, leveraging the opportunities that this crisis has created to pivot, and really thinking about how to institute resilience into our DNA. Everybody has said that this is a crisis and there are going to be more crises, and we just have to learn to live with shocks, because climate change and other pandemics are going to continue to come. That's the sad news. So the reality for SMEs, as Mr. Thompson has said, is to really tighten their belts, focus on survival and thriving in this period. Thank you so much, sir, for your comments. I would suggest that if you have questions, please go to the Q&A box and put those questions in and designate who you want to answer those questions. And individuals on this panel will be responding as we proceed. I'm now going to call on the National President of NASSI, Chief Solomon, to share his own thoughts. And Chief Solomon, you obviously oversee. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Is there a problem, Chief Solomon? Yeah, so
Hello.
you oversee, yes, sir. You oversee a large group of entrepreneurs across the country, and you know where it pinches. But I would like you to focus on what these SMEs can be doing given the constraints that we already know exist. Because all of us can say we need funding, grants. We've heard that loud and clear. We need grants. Well, we also know the constraints that are facing our country at the moment with a severe deficit and a severe economic downturn. So given these constraints, what can be done at the local level, at the state level, because state governments also have a role to play, at the federal level, but what can the SMEs also do collectively to address some of the constraints they're facing?
All
Go ahead,
right,
sir.
Okay. The Minister of State and other dignitaries on this very particular program, I appreciate today, which we are marking our World MSME Day. I like to a little bit disagree with your comment about funding, that we do not have fund as such.
Yes, that's it.
Why did I say so? MSME in 2013, there was a specific fund that was meant for them. And the Director of Development Finance in Central Bank, in his talk in AIT, made it very clear that it is from that money they got the 50 billion stimulus package of the COVID-19. So what I'm trying to put across here is, within that period, which this 2013, this fund came to be, there was a very big backlog that nobody was able to access that fund, except some few state governments. And even the few state governments, it was because the 2 billion they were accessing will withdraw in their revenue allocation or subvention or so. But the COVID-19 bring in a key that this big backlog was unlocked. Since that money was there, and this money is a revolving fund that has been there for these years. So I believe it will be more than the 20 billion that has been there now. So I'm emphasizing that as immediate need of the MSMEs, which is funding, and this money is there, since 50 billion can be removed from it for intervention, we want to request, it's a demand because it's our money, it's MSMEs fund, it's our money. We are demanding that this money, even additional 100 billion, should be given to the MSME subsector, because the first 50 billion that come, it took almost 3 months. It is just within 2 weeks, my members are calling to say they have started accessing this fund. So if they can use 50 billion, another 100 billion, 3 months, for another 50, another 3 months before the 6th year of the year elapsed, it will bring a lot of stimulus and progress to us before we can think of the stimulus package of 2-point-something trillion the government are already planning. But the immediate need, because we are in a crisis situation, a lot of situation has gone bad. And also, for the way forward, additional way forward, the synergy of agencies that have to do with MSME is very critical. Always we go for meeting, discussion come, we say there is a one-stop shop, the Secretariat of the MSME, which is SMEDAN, is supposed to coordinate. It has been a lip service. And we have looked at it critically. It's not because of anything. In the meeting, everybody will agree. But when they go by the side, because every agency is looking out to protect his budget, what he will gain, they try to play a lot of corners. For example, yes, NAFDAC make their intervention proposal. They said the first 200 Nigerians who log in will be registered free of charge. If NAFDAC can register 200 Nigerians free, why can't they register all the MSME free of charge? The question why I say so is, they are receiving subvention to pay their bills. What did they need this registration for? What we expect is let them capture the pool of these people into their system. And when these people are enjoying this, their benefit, then that is when you say, okay, this time around, this is what you need to start paying when they want to maybe renew in the near future. It's very, very critical. Number 3 that I want to talk about is for the Secretariat of the MSME, which is SMEDAN, to work perfectly. I think the act that was just passed and sent has not been assent to, if I'm not mistaken. We want to encourage that that act should be signed into law, which will empower them to do better jobs for us. I also want to talk about the MSME clinic has gone around the whole country. The truth about it is, if you look at the programs, you will discover that all the MSME products meet the international standard. But if you observe it, good finishing and packaging has been their major problem. And we are aware that what you are buying, the major amount in product you are buying is packaged. And what happened? Immediately you remove you open the packet, you remove the main product, the packet is thrown away, but that is where the money is. I have an example to give in respect of that. We have a Casa Vita product in my state, that is in Jos. We wanted to produce a pack, a 50 kg pack for it. We went to one Nigerian company to produce it. They tell us we must produce 20,000 pieces at 40 naira, which is almost 8 million naira. It's not easy. But somehow, one of our colleagues do travel to China. At the end of the day, we produced that back for 20 naira from China back to Nigeria with transport and every cost. So we wanted to have a situation whereby there should be common facility. And common facility will not just work. Where will you put it? There should be parks. The other time they talk about the industrial park, I make a very vital comment that all these existing industrial parks that have been there, they should be put in place so that MSME should have a common place where they work. When you are there, and this facility, common facilities are there, it's easier for you to go and produce your packet, produce all kinds of things that will make your product become excellent and can go. With this current situation now that we are already signing up to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, if we do not package well, it's very difficult for our product to go outside the shore of this country and get us the good currency with good value for our money. Another thing I would like to put at the end is, the last point is, there have been a presidential order that product in Nigeria must be bought by Nigerians. I think if we really want it to work, enforcing this thing is very key, because this anthem has existed for many, many years, but it has not seen the daylight. If enforcement can be made so that this program, like we find ourselves in the COVID-19, we have no option. People were put together and they have to reach out to do the best out of what they think they can do for the purpose of things to work. And a lot of food products we see, even the ones that were not packaged, but because people are sitting at home, they have to go and buy the Nigerian products. So we want to encourage that it is our right that the enforcement of this order should take place. So without taking much time, I would like to thank you all
so much.
for listening to me.
I commend you, and I'm giving you a round of applause from my office here, because I think you've spoken the mind of a lot of SMEs and given us some very concrete feedback, which I believe the Secretariat is noting down. I love your local sourcing. In Brazil, they started with 30% mandatory local sourcing. I would even suggest 60%. I completely agree with you. We should put it down as policy and follow through. I love the challenge around the one-stop shop. I think that's critical. We need to practice what we're preaching and put it in place. And the challenge around the funding is ours, you said. It's our money. Give it to us. We've heard that loud and clear. The question is, how should it be given in an efficient and effective manner? Because we need the money right now. And that impatience and your courage and boldness is well noted. But I'd like to challenge you, Chief Solomon, that this is also a great time for SMEs because people have to source locally. Our currency has made it unattractive to import, right? I'm sure that 20 naira bag that you talked about is going to be 40 naira today if you bring it in from China. So we're being forced to look inwards and start saying, what can we source locally? And Ace Foods, the company I co-founded, is seeing that people who would not buy our spices are now buying them because it's cheaper to buy locally. So let's keep pushing and taking advantage of that. Now I'm going to come swiftly to Mr. Bamidele from UNIDO. UNIDO has been on the forefront of some of the issues that Chief Solomon talked about around local sourcing, creating the efficient and effective industrial support sectors and the industrial parks. Can you take these issues on directly and then point us to some very concrete recommendations to address this? Thank you, sir. Mr. Bamidele, please. Can we unmute Mr. Bamidele? Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. I said industrial park is a major strategy that UNIDO has used over time to promote industrial development. Industrial park is quite important and a fast strategy that can draw all resources together, both from the public and the private sector, to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development. We have done quite a bit of work in this regard in the country by promoting clusters, particularly for some sectors in the in the agricultural sector, particularly in the leather subsector. Working in Aba, for instance, working in Kano, and want to really scale up this process, and which is why we have put it as one of the major components of the ongoing country program that we're implementing from 2018 to 2022. So industrial park development is key, and within this framework, we are working with the Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment to establish a world-class automotive industrial park at Nnewi. We have done the feasibility studies, we've done the master plan. Yesterday, there was a major stakeholders meeting on this, on how to move to the investment phase. And we're looking at the possibility also of
Mr. Bamidele, your connection is not very strong. We're losing you. Okay, so I think Mr. Bamidele has a problem with his connection. So can I come to Monday Evans, and then we'll come back to Mr. Bamidele. So I think his connection is quite poor, so I'm just going to ask that we move on to Monday Ewans from SMEDAN, and then we'll come back to Mr. Bamidele when he has a stronger connection. Mr. Ewans, you've heard a lot from some of your SME members, from NASSI, from NASSME. They're impatient. They want support right now. And your agency is charged with providing the support, the protection, the enablement for these SMEs. Can you tell us in very concrete terms, what is SMEDAN doing to help SMEs at this very difficult time? And can you address the issues that have been raised around the funding, the impatience around the one-stop shop, and some of the policy dimensions that we've been talking about, me and you have been talking about and working on for the last 15 years. Can you just take us through some very concrete steps, please, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I'm happy to be on this panel today. Of course, today we're celebrating the MSMEs. Of course, without the MSMEs, Nigeria won't even be talking about going to the next level. When you talk about diversification, it is the MSMEs that are key. So we need to support MSMEs concretely, you know. And then what are we talking about? The challenges they face every day, ranging from issues related to access to affordable finance, related to markets, whether it is local, regional, or global, and then issue of capacity to even deliver on what they need to do in terms of skills and so on. Of course, for us in SMEDAN, we are the government agency that is set up to support MSMEs along the value chain. For SMEDAN, we know that capacity is key, apart from even finance, because you need the capacity to really manage the finance when it comes. So building capacity of MSMEs is key to us. And that is why in every time, in every year, because we're dependent on the government for our budget, every project we undertake, there is capacity building component every day. I mean, across our network, across the states, across everywhere we work, there is capacity building. And of course, issue of access to finance has been key. It's been a challenge to all of us from SMEDAN perspective.
I cannot hear Mr. Ewans anymore, Dr. Ewans. The connection is a bit poor. Can you repeat what you just said, sir? Maybe you can take off your video, sir. If you take off your video, the connection might be a bit clearer.
Hello, are you hearing me now?
Now we can hear you, sir. Now we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Okay, I was talking about our act we want to amend so that it will place us in a better position to be able to support MSMEs in a very tangible way with finance. Of course, as of last year, the new bill went up to the president, but
So we've lost Mr. Ewans again, Dr. Ewans again, and he was making some very salient points about the bill and the critical need.
Hello?
Maybe, sir, you can take off your video so that the connection will be clearer. Just turn off your video because we want to hear the very salient points and critical points you're making.
Okay, I've turned off the video.
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you clearly. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I was talking about the effort we're making to make sure that we have money readily for small businesses, because what they're having now is not enough. So we are trying to set up the National Enterprise Development Fund through our act. And of course, when we did public hearing and all that last year, before it was not signed by the president, it was a wonderful idea. So, hello?
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we hear you. Okay. So this time we want to take it back to the president so that he can sign it and have that special fund established so that we can give grants to small businesses, give affordable loans to small businesses, also have funds for building their capacity, and also have funds for guaranteeing their loans from maybe commercial banks and microfinance banks. It's a comprehensive setup, and we hope that this law will be passed this time around so that issue of access to finance will be sorted out more meaningfully by SMEDAN, because other funding agencies are not in the position to really support MSMEs the way they are supposed to be supported in terms of grants and so on. So secondly, in terms of markets, it's also an issue with small businesses assessing markets, whether it is local or regional or global. Of course, we have a particular program we call the market linkage, MSMEs market linkage, where we set up a platform between small businesses and the large enterprises, so that large enterprises can now source their raw materials and other inputs from small businesses. And then small businesses will also be in a position to package their products very, very well according to what the large enterprises need and be able to support them. And then by that, the markets for small businesses are enlarged, because without the markets, in fact, I mean, in terms of turnover and so on, will not be achieved, and small business will not grow from one level to the other. And of course, recently we started reviewing the national policy. In fact, the moderator was with us in 2015 when she was the main person driving the review of the policy. Now we're reviewing it once again to put into consideration the current issues to make sure that it becomes more effective and be able to be implemented to favor the small businesses. Aside that, the programs we are running this, currently, what the DG has said in his welcome remarks, the issue of one local government, one product, is a project that is empowering the small businesses with capacity. It gives them equipment, it gives them workspace, it gives them money in terms of either loan or grant, and also gives them business development service support. Of course, we are doing it in all the local governments right now. Of course, that's our aim, to go to all the local governments, but right now we are in all the 109 senatorial districts. Of course, the second program the DG talked about is the conditional grant scheme for micro enterprises. Of course, you may recall that in the survey we did with National Bureau of Statistics in 2017, 2013, and 2010, the number of micro enterprises were the highest. In 2017, it was 99.8% of the 41.5 million MSMEs. So we decided to come up with a program that will impact straight to these micro enterprises. And that is why we came up with this conditional grant scheme for micro enterprises. And what does it involve? It involves capacity building. It involves registration with CAC, that's formalization. It involves opening bank accounts. It involves giving some form of micro insurance. And it involves a grant of 50,000 Naira each to these small businesses. And of course, we follow it up with PDS. And we started in 2018. We started 6 states in 2018. 2019, we went to 4 states, and then we're continuing even this year. So we've empowered these small businesses because most of the micro enterprises are not formalized. They're operating in the informal sector. So we want to pull them out from the informal sector, support them, because if you tell them to go and register on their own, they may not do it, because they're always afraid of a lot of things. I mean, the government will follow with the tax man, the government will follow with all manner of things against them. But we're saying, no, if you don't formalize, you will not be able to access public goods. So formalization is key to support them and even to support the government. And of course, the other program we're talking about is the National Enterprise Development Program. Of course, three of the government agencies in our ministry are cooperating to do that: SMEDAN, Bank of Industry, and the Industrial Training Fund. Of course, recently we have expanded the platform to include, of course, our ministry is the key coordinating center. We included the Corporate Affairs Commission, we have included NAFDAC, SON, and so on and so forth. About 13 or 14 agencies now are under the NEDEM. And the aim is also to empower small businesses with capacity skills, whether vocational or entrepreneurship, and also to empower them with access to finance, to empower them with quality packaging, to empower them with all manner of things to make sure that they, at the end of the day, they are in a position to move forward from micro to small to medium and so on and so forth. And of course, finally, just like the DG said, business support, business development support is key, because you don't just give this support without making sure that the beneficiaries, the small businesses, are able to implement them to their benefit. So you need to follow them up with M&E, with advisory services, to make sure that they implement these things, because it's only when they implement that they're able to know whether they're improving or whether they're not improving, and then the economy will be the beneficiary at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ewans. We definitely feel your passion and commitment to SMEs and MSMEs, and we know you've been working diligently to address these issues within the constraints. I'm going to go back through all my panelists and just give them 1 minute to respond to this final question, because I know that we're really behind time. And the final question is really, if there was one... Yes, sir.
Just a quick one. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I just want to add one or two things to what Mr. Ewans just presented.
Sure.
I think the greatest problem we have is the fact that funding, which is the bane of our MSMEs, is totally inadequate. It's inadequate in the private sector, it's inadequate in the public sector. Particularly in the private sector, the financial system is not structured well enough to take care of micro businesses and small businesses. And when that gap is there, the pressure on the public sector to step in becomes so huge. Funding constraints in the public sector, we are all aware of it. There is no way on earth SMEDAN can be able to take care of the funding needs of MSMEs in Nigeria. We can only do the little we can. Ditto for Bank of Industry, the Central Bank Palliative Measure, the Office of the Vice President, who just touch the surface. The problem is much, much. We go back to the drawing board and find ways and means that the private sector can be better placed to support small businesses, particularly in this COVID period and after. And let me just quickly say something. SMEDAN has this program. Unfortunately, we've not been able to publicize it so much, but I want to use this platform to let all the MSMEs who are listening here to be aware that we have a registration portal where we want to capture all our MSMEs in our portal so that we know where they are, what they do, the programs and policies that best fit them, so that we can apply those programs and policies. If we are equipped with that information and the data now, this palliative we could present to government that, hey, this particular segment of MSMEs are in their need of funding. Let's find ways to assist and support them. So I want to avert your mind to this portal. The portal is available. It's online. It's smedanregister.ng. smedanregister.ng. All MSMEs should endeavor to register their businesses with us so that we can capture their information. It's just a 2-minute, 3-minute registration process. It requires nothing other than your information and your particulars, and do it as honestly and precisely as possible so that the information we have is credible, we can use them well, and then we can then engage all the other lending institutions and support institutions to support MSMEs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I completely endorse what you've said. It's so important for us to register. And what we know is that there's a lot of funding coming into Nigeria at this time. MasterCard Foundation is partnering with Nourishing Africa, which I chair, and a few banks to give funding to SMEs at this time. And there's so many others, Ag Invest, and we all need to work with SMEDAN to find you, because if we don't know where you are and you're not on the database, we don't know how to reach you. And the sad reality is some of the people who know are the ones who get this funding, and they get funding from multiple sources, and yet those who really need it are not aware and cannot position themselves effectively. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to round up. I've been looking at all the questions in the Q&A box, and I'm also going to encourage our panelists to please go to the Q&A box and respond directly to the questions that have been posed to you. There's so many questions. We have 44 questions and lots of other questions in the chat. And sadly, we don't have an hour to answer all of these questions. So I'm going to just rush through with each of our panelists, and you have 1 minute to respond. And I'm going to ask you if there's one takeaway for the SMEs listening today, what they can do for themselves at this time. What will that one takeaway be? And if there's one takeaway for the governments, the policymakers and the agencies, what will that one takeaway be? Because if we were going to list everything, we wouldn't go home today. But I think that every SME has to look internally. What should they be doing now? So one thing for them and one thing for government agencies. So let's start in the reverse order. I'm going to start with Monday Ewans again. Please, sir, respond in 1 minute to my 2 requests.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Yes, I was actually looking at the Q&A segment to see what we can achieve. You know, so actually my attention was not drawn to what you were saying. So please.
Okay, so let me go with Dr. Timothy then. Can we have Dr. Timothy to start us off, please?
Yes. 2-in-1 question. The key takeaway for government in China during the heat of the COVID-19, China actually did something for the SMEs. They were exempted from certain forms of payment. For instance, I just want to read them out here. China SME from payment of pension contribution, unemployment, and injury and work injury insurance. Furthermore, they had extensions in terms of tax reporting period and goods and other taxes. I think that should be a key takeaway for government to do. Funding, yes, but they should also encourage them in other ways to work together. To the SMEs, one key opportunity is the borders are closed. We have signed for this external trade investments in West Africa and across the globe. I think it's time for us to look at how do we produce and be proudly working from local sources, local resources, from made in Nigeria, and be proud about it. And that I know the SMEs are doing that, but they need to do more in that end. And they need to be able to engage government with one voice, speaking maybe through an association or a platform. We have the NECA of this world, we have the NASSI, NASSME, so that they could all put work on a collective platform, on a collective action to engage government, so that all of this thing is being done. We want to believe that, and not for some other thing, because it is indeed our country, Nigeria. I just want to thank you, because it was just one point the moderator said for each of the various arms. So I just want to keep to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love the example from China, and I think the Secretariat is noting that down. In addition to supporting us with funds, you need to think about how you can remove some of the burdens on the SMEs. So I love the idea of waiving a few very, very critical burdens that SMEs face. Thank you very much. And looking inwards, that's a great concluding remark. Can we go to Chief Solomon next?
Yeah, I want to add that the regulatory agencies should give a privilege to the MSMEs, since we know they are we said they are the bedrock and the engine of the growth of economy. Let them allow them to come into their net by giving them that incentive of doing some of this registration free. Capture a lot of them. They are in their millions. If you captured all of them, when they want to renew, then some of those revenue you want to get from them will come. By then they are relaxed and forced to do better, and they will have that inner understanding. Just as Mr. Ewans said earlier, some of them, immediately you come to them, they have a different understanding because of maybe their capacity. So this is what I think should be done. Based like SON, NAFDAC, even with the CAC, I saw a post that when you want to register, they should attach an IFS number. You want to capture a new person to come in, you are already telling him to go and start doing tax must be paid, but encourage them. Let their majority come in. Then when they come in, you now start getting what you want from them. Give them that incentive. So that is my own take. Thank you.
So much. Thank you. Can we come to Mr. Bamidele of UNIDO? Mr. Bamidele, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I said I'm sorry I got cut off while I was speaking earlier on. One quick takeaway from this meeting is that the MSME operators can rely on UNIDO to unhold them and support them to grow in creating jobs in Nigeria and enhancing Nigeria's economic growth, and that we'll be working with about 200 MSMEs very shortly to capacitate them in order to be able to produce personal protective equipment such as face masks, alcohol-based hand rubs, gowns, face shields, and so forth. There are a number of things we have in store for them to provide to them to be able to meet the demand of the Nigerian public. Also, we'll be providing support in the area of policies and actionable strategies at federal and state levels to support industries and make them adapt to the context of the COVID-19. We'll be strengthening further the MSMEs in this country by helping the area of helping the micro enterprises to formalize, working with the SMEDAN to rejig the NEDEP, and at the same time supporting Nigeria in crafting a national policy on startups. Further, will be conducting a study very shortly on the supply chains of the Nigerian industrial sector, what impact the COVID-19 has had on the supply chains, and how we can identify local substitutes that MSMEs can rely on going forward. Also, we know that a number of COVID-19 wastes are generated in the country, so we'll be coming up with guidelines and technology and methodologies that the country can use in managing the wastes. And of course, we'll be providing some support in the area of solar energy to help the MSMEs do their business. Basically, these are some of the things we can provide at the moment over this period, in addition to the provision that are in the country program for the inclusive and sustainable industrial development in Nigeria, which I mentioned earlier on that we're implementing currently until 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bamidele, and I just want to commend UNIDO for the work you're doing, but also assure you that there's a lot of work that UNIDO can build upon that has already been done in some of these areas. So please reach out to a lot of us on this line as well, because we can definitely help you fast track some of the work. Okay, last but not least, Dr. Ewans, can you just share your one comment for the entrepreneurs and one charge for the government as well?
All right, thank you so much, Madam Moderator. Of course, if you look at the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, it has a definite plan to support MSMEs with payroll support, restructuring of existing loan, giving low interest loans, and then also supporting them with guarantee the uptake of their products and services. This is what government has decided to do. And of course, the CBN and SMEDAN are also trying to implement the general framework in terms of activities and so on. So I want to appeal to MSMEs to exercise a little patience. They should not be so much in a hurry. The government is sincere in trying to support the MSMEs through the COVID-19 crisis. So they should just calm down and let these programs take root and be implemented in their favor. So I empathize with MSMEs. I mean, it's quite a terrible thing being an MSME at this point in time. But government is sincere in supporting them to go through this crisis. I wish them well, and then God will bless all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I round up, I have my two prayers, and I'm so glad that we still have the chairman and the DG on this line. The first prayer comes from one of my favorite African proverbs, which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. One of the things we need to do in Nigeria is to really streamline and collaborate when it comes to the agencies focused on SMEs and industrial development. You've heard the names: NAFDAC, SON, FIRS, CAC. And that's why that one-stop shop was so exciting to us, but it has not worked. And I think Chief Solomon said it. We need all these agencies streamlined, working together seamlessly to support SMEs. Even at this time, with all the palliatives, all of them have different palliatives, and they're working almost in competition with each other. And many of our policies are also counteracting each other. So my prayer, Chairman and DGs, can you pull together these agencies and have one voice, one collective voice to support MSMEs, not just in the short term, but in the long term? You've heard it from the SMEs, and I'm just echoing really for the SMEs. There's an Igbo proverb that I've been holding on to this year, and it basically summarizes and says, disasters help to reveal the resourceful, the resilient, and the brave. SMEs, you are resourceful, you are resilient, you are brave. If there's anything about Nigerian SMEs I know, is that we know how to survive because we're strong people. So I want to encourage you, this is an opportunity for you to look inwards, to retool, to reskill, to think about your business and how to put it in resilience into your DNA. I'm personally committed to supporting all the SMEs involved in food and agriculture. We've set up a website called Nourishing Africa to support you to scale. And I'm writing a book to help you to scale this year. But there's going to be funding for you as well, because I believe we have to feed ourselves and the world. But I want to encourage you. It's tough. I know it's tough, but we can pull through and we can emerge stronger. So on behalf of the panelists, I want to thank you all for listening. And I want to thank each of the panelists for your wisdom, for your commitment. Thank you, NECA. Thank you, NASSI. Thank you, SMEDAN. Thank you, UNIDO. Thank you for your excellent work. Keep pushing, keep striving. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ndidi.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you so
Moderator.
much,
Thank
madam.
you.
Thank you so much. I'm passing it back to Madam Funke.
Okay.
Thank you
Madam.
so much. So our board, yes, SMEDAN Otuba, His Excellency Otuba Pedro. I will still follow suit by clapping for everyone, you know, like you led earlier, sir. So they've done excellently. I'm sure they can go on and on and on, but you see, we have to wrap up the session at some point. And the way our moderator ended, that we are very resourceful, we are very resilient, and she said it all to motivate us. I also would like to encourage all of us. Our board chairman had said that we should try and register so that SMEDAN has a lot of interventions in place for us. As I'm saying that, our DG is also smiling because DG and the team has also been working relentlessly, you know, to put some of these measures in place. So SMEDAN register.
I'm transferring this property to this person. Okay, and you will sign. I will sign, I think.
Okay, so if we have not registered, let's do so. I would like to use this opportunity to also recognize and appreciate some special guests that we have in our midst. We have the Managing Director of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, NECA, in our midst. We also have the Managing Director of Development Bank of Nigeria. So we like to recognize and appreciate their presence for taking time to come and champion and celebrate with us today, that we are celebrating and deliberating the issues on moving MSMEs here in Nigeria forward.